Okay, today is September 10th, 2018, and right now at 8:45 p.m. we have a temperature of 70 degrees here in the foothills of Los Angeles. The relative humidity is 66%. The dew point is 58 degrees, and the barometer is sitting at 29.84 inches. And we're looking at Category 4 Hurricane Florence out in the Atlantic. This storm we see here has a very well-defined eye wall. There's not much in the way of a blast pattern visible on this system, so it's being allowed to run pretty much at full throttle. It may continue to strengthen. This system is heading right towards the U.S. West Coast. Now, before we go and look at some of the pressure maps out on the Atlantic, let's go ahead and take a look first at the situation here right near Hawaii. All right, so this is, well, it was Hurricane Olivia today. Tonight, we've been watching this all day, and this is Hurricane Olivia, or was. This is a tropical storm now with 70 mile per hour sustained winds. Now, notice what's happening to Olivia. Look at the pressure waves and the blast pattern as this storm moves towards the Hawaiian Islands. The storm is being blown apart, it's being superheated by satellite transmitters. We can see the tremendous blast pressure wave right there in the last frames. I'm going to reload this. We got some dead frames here. That's very annoying. Let's see if we can get this thing to work properly. Okay, very good. There we go. All right, so there is Olivia. This was a hurricane earlier today. Now, today, right now, it's a tropical storm. We see the blast pattern, and we see those pressure waves moving out. There's a couple of them right there we see. And so this hurricane has been rendered essentially harmless. It will be probably destroyed by the time it moves over the islands. That is the forecast. If we take a look here at the National Hurricane Center map for the Pacific Ocean, we see Olivia has been downgraded with 70 mile per hour winds, a central pressure of 991 millibar, and is moving due west at 10 miles per hour. And the cone track is to pass right over the islands. So hopefully you guys out there won't get drenched in rain and blown apart with wind. But the situation there is that we see out here on the East Pacific, or rather the Central Pacific, this storm, which I think was a Category 3 at one time, if I remember it right. It was a major hurricane. But nonetheless, the point is that this storm is being blown apart by man. We have the technology to destroy hurricanes and to re-steer them. In this case, this will be destroyed and brought over the islands and to give the appearance of a chaotic weather behavior. Back in the old days, weather was chaotic. We couldn't accurately forecast what was going to happen. But certainly with this kind of activity, we can see clearly what's going on. It's just a matter of the weather controllers and how they disseminate what they're going to do to the fake news media. And of course, the news media, they read from scripts. Forecasting weather has become a black art. The typical weather models and weather theory no longer apply. I mean, how can we explain what's going on here? Mother Nature doesn't create these blast patterns and these pressure waves, and a major hurricane just suddenly just falls apart in warm water. This is all, if you believe that we've got natural weather, then I've got some bridges to sell you. I've got swampland. Look at this. This is the infrared map, and we can see what's happening here. There's a hole blown right into the center of this storm. That's what's causing these pressure waves and the scatter pattern, this blast pattern. So we see what's happened here. This is, once again, that's Olivia being blown apart. And it's now a tropical storm. So getting back to Florence, we don't see any evidence here in the center of, except for right here, there was a shot taken at it right there. And we see some a very, very minor blast pattern right here. You can see those little that little icicle pattern right there. All right, so it looks to me like the fix is in. Here's the visible light map. We see some photoshopping. There's really not a whole lot to hide. Really, we have that eye wall, which tells us all we need to know. Out here on earlier today, there was an eye wall on this storm. On getting back to Olivia right here near the islands. Today, there was a little eye wall that had formed. And just prior to this sequence that we're seeing here, we saw we saw this storm being targeted. It ruined the eye wall, and we see this subsequent blast pattern. I wasn't able to get a video up in the last few days, just enjoying the weekend, and so here we are. All right, so let's look at some of these other maps. This is the visible light map, and we can see a couple of very strong pressure waves moving out to the west here in this visible light map. And we see a blast pattern, a scatter pattern right up here. So this storm is quickly being neutralized, but yet over here, Florence is not. So if we look at the pressure maps here for the Atlantic, this is the surface analysis map. We see what's happening. That storm has been pinned. We've got two highs up here by way up in Canada, 1,034 millibar each, and that will not allow a hurricane to move north. Also, we've got a high right here, which is 1,017. Now, this should be pumped up. If there's any civility in this world, we just saw Olivia being targeted and blown apart. Certainly, they could do that with Hurricane Florence right here. All right, so we've got 1,017 millibar right just east of Florida. This should be pumped up to about 1,045 millibar. If they're going to re-steer this, if there's any decency in this world, this thing will be blown apart and re-steered out to the north, hooked back out into the Atlantic. But we have disaster capitalism. We've got insiders on Wall Street that are have their bets in place. We have infrastructure stocks, Fluor Corporation, and Parsons. All of these companies are involved in rebuilding cities and infrastructure. So this is a major hurricane, and we see that there's not a likely chance it's going to hook north at this point unless this is pumped up. This will just merely ensure that this storm does not go into Florida. It'll actually hook it to the north and right into the Carolinas. So something is going on in the Carolinas. Are they not making their payoffs, their insurance money payoffs? Something's got to give here. We need to find out what's going on. We know that in the hurricane season here a couple of years ago, there was about, I think, 15 hurricanes that were moving out into the East Pacific Ocean, and not a single one of them hit Hawaii. Here we see, this is Tropical Storm Paul. I believe this is, let's go take a look here at the hurricane map once again. We see Paul right over here, right there, which has been downgraded to a tropical depression. 35 mile per hour winds. This is Paul right here, and this is Olivia, which is being blown apart. Here is the remnants of Norman. This was hooked north. It missed the islands, and we see, look at this. If there was ever, this is just amazing, astonishing. Look at this. Look at the high pressure barricade around Norman, the remnants of Norman. We have a gigantic gale force weather system with a right angle imprint spinning, and we see that the frontal system from this gigantic low pressure system is literally bouncing off this former hurricane. This is the remnants of Norman. And look what they've done here. This is installed high pressure right around that former hurricane. All of this moisture is streaming right into Northern California and Oregon. We'd like to hear from the people in Oregon and Washington and Northern California. I'm sure that all these people up here are seeing a lot of chemtrail spraying. I don't have the Doppler map pulled up, but this is not natural. There's nothing natural about this. This should be front page news all around the country. But you see, the thing is that the newspapers and our U.S. media, television media, they're all on board with this scam, this weather manipulation scheme, and so they're not reporting the fact that this is happening. And so instead, they report that CO2 and greenhouse gases slash smokestack emissions are causing climate change. That's just a lot of baloney. And this is the proof of that. And of course, this is the reason why we don't have satellite maps on the televised weather reports. The nightly news, the local and national weather reports are in cartoon animated form. Here we see installed high pressure between these two storms. And we've got a blockade right here. This will ensure that none of this moisture moves up anywhere near California. You see a giant thunderstorm cell right here over northern Mexico. But look at the pattern. It's just bulldozing all this moisture away from California. All right, so this gale force system will yield no rain for California. That's already been determined. We were told that there was a chance of rain. That's about as that's about as close as we get to an actual rain forecast, as we hear from the puppets on the television weather reports that we have a chance of rain. That will not happen, at least this week. All right, so we've got this problem out in the Atlantic, and we've got these two highs which are pinning that hurricane from the north, and then we have this hurricane here which will channel this hurricane right between these two highs and into the Carolinas. So this map basically confirms that the fix is in, and also that this map here shows that no effort is being made to superheat or weaken this hurricane. And so these people that are doing this are deranged. They are crazy. I would recommend that anybody who hasn't seen the movie, the documentary, The Smartest Guys in the Room, see that movie. It's all about the Enron scam and how they took over the electricity utilities in California. And these heartless bastards, they just were charging upwards of $100 a megawatt. This is about 10, 12 years ago when Bush Jr. was president. And just crazy stuff. But the Wall Street people, I think, are the most heartless. They can do this kind of stuff and sleep well at night. And so there's definitely a connection between Wall Street and the industrial complex and the news media, who are, on one hand, we see they're destroying a hurricane heading right towards the islands. But here, we don't see much of an effort being made. And of course, the pressure charts basically tell us all we need to know. Now, out here on the Pacific, here, let's look at the Atlantic. Florence is generating 40-foot seas right in the center. Now, here we see 21, 15, and 9-foot seas as this storm moves towards the U.S. West Coast. So this is the swell report. We got 40-foot seas right there. Now, looking at the Pacific side, we have this is Olivia generating 27-foot seas right near the islands. Right out here is the Hawaiian Islands. 20 degrees north is right here. So we'll keep an eye on this. They're going to blow this thing apart, and the islands will probably be spared any catastrophic damage. Probably get a lot of rain. But certainly, if there's any decency among these people that are controlling our weather, this thing should be knocked down. So there's the proof. It's right there in color. And that's it. We'll just do another update tomorrow, September 11th. I've got a scientific paper that I'd like to spend some time outlining tomorrow. Okay, that's it.